In the crypto world, timing is, well, it's pretty much everything. So when a company like Bitcoin Platinum comes out and makes a huge claim that 2026 is going to be the strategic year for the market, you got to pay attention. So today, we're going to unpack their argument piece by piece and really figure out why they're so focused on that specific year. All right, so what is the big deal with 2026? What makes it so special? According to them, this isn't just about another bull run or another market cycle. No, they're arguing that we're looking at a complete, fundamental shift in how we should even be thinking about crypto. So let's dive in and see how they build that case. So this source kicks things off with a pretty major declaration. They're saying we have officially entered a new era for digital assets. The days of crypto just being some kind of niche, speculative experiment, well, in their view, those days are officially over. And this right here, this is the bedrock of their whole argument. They're not just saying crypto is here to stay, they're saying it has moved way beyond the fringe and is now a permanent pillar of global finance. That one idea right there really sets the stage for everything else they're about to say. Okay, so what does this new era actually look like? Well, the article boils it down to one key idea: market maturation. They frame this as a really critical move away from just, pure hype and speculation and towards something way more tangible, something built to last: infrastructure.
Now, what I think is really interesting here is that they try to put some real numbers on this idea of maturity. They're pointing to some big concrete metrics, like hundreds of millions of users and a DeFi sector that's in the trillions. But you know what they say is really crucial? It's the behavioral shift, that move towards self-custody. They say that signals a huge demand for user control, for people wanting to take charge of their own assets. And this slide really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? It's the before and after picture. On one side, you've got the old market, which, let's be honest, we all recognize, all about hype, speculation, and just wild volatility. But on the other side, you have the 2026 market they're describing, focused on things that last, like real infrastructure, actual value, and long-term transparency. It's a totally different ballgame. Okay, so here's the pivot. The source has laid out the problem, this big market shift. And now they shift from that broad analysis to their specific product pitch. They introduce their own project, Bitcoin Platinum Digital, or BPD, and they position it as the custom-built answer for this new, mature, infrastructure-first era they've just described.
So what is BPD exactly? Well, according to them, it's the native utility asset for their whole ecosystem. To put it simply, it's the token that's designed to make everything on their platform work. It's the fuel for their engine. And they make a big deal about this number: 1 billion. That's the total BPD supply. Now, why does that matter? Well, they argue that having a fixed, known supply is absolutely crucial for building trust. Think about it. In a market that's often criticized for tokens that can be printed out of nowhere, they're framing this predictable scarcity as a key feature for stability. So here's where they lay out exactly what BPD is supposedly all about. And just notice the keywords they're using here: transparency, decentralization, user ownership, real-world use. Sound familiar? They are deliberately and very cleverly echoing the exact same characteristics they just told us define the new, mature 2026 market. Okay, so that's the what. But how do they actually plan to deliver on all these promises? Well, the article breaks down their entire project philosophy into 3 core principles that they say guide everything they do. They basically lay it out as a 3-step playbook. First up, transparency, by making sure all the data is public and on-chain for anyone to verify. Second, guidance and education, to actually help people navigate all the complexities of DeFi. And third, and this is really their core message, it's all about putting the actual tech, the security, the infrastructure way ahead of what they call unsustainable hype. And this quote, this really just hammers home their entire angle. The source is basically saying, hey, we see where the market is going. They're positioning themselves as being perfectly in tune with this big shift in what people want. It's like they're saying, you're tired of all the hype? Guess what? So are we. Here's something built to actually last. And that brings us to the grand finale, their final pitch. After laying out the entire market problem and then presenting their own project as the perfect solution, they circle all the way back to why this all adds up to a massive opportunity in 2026. So the huge takeaway from the source is this: They believe that as crypto becomes totally mainstream, the winning strategy isn't about chasing the next hot thing for short-term gains anymore.
No, they say it's about strategically aligning with platforms that actually have a long-term vision. And, they're not so subtly implying that means platforms just like theirs.
And here it is, their big closing line. They're positioning BPD not just as another token to trade, but as an actual entry point for people who want to be part of building the future of finance, instead of just chasing it. It's a powerful statement. So that wraps up our little breakdown of the argument from Bitcoin Platinum. And it really leaves us all with a pretty important question to chew on. As the whole crypto space keeps maturing and pretty much every project out there starts claiming they're building for the long term, the real challenge for all of us becomes, how do you tell the difference between real solid infrastructure and just really, really clever marketing?